Ari, this time we are looking at a Supergirl story. We have Superman 415, one of the lamest Supergirl stories. I don't like this one, or the idea at all. This is a tie-in to Christmas on Infinite Earths. And if you were a big Supergirl fan, and you read Christmas on Infinite Earths, and you were heartbroken at Supergirl dying, you maybe thought to yourself, how can it get any worse to be a Supergirl fan? The answer is Superman 415. This is one of those bad Superman stories that people will pretend don't exist, and that everything before Jason Byrne rebooted Superman was amazing and great. This definitely isn't great. Superman finds a boring alien wanker called Salcor in his fortress of soulful tunes. And Salcor, he has a connection to Supergirl that we and Superman don't know about. This follows, obviously, the death of Supergirl in Christmas on Infinite Earths. Supergirl died in that, and this issue was meant to be for Supergirl fans. We have a misunderstanding fight between Superman and Salcor, a misunderstanding chase too. Both these misunderstandings are very boring because Salcor is very boring. I envision Salcor speaking with the most deadpan neutral tone possible. He is without any quality of character. He has no trait or personality. He is possibly the most boring man in the DC universe. He's even more boring than Barney Allen. Right, so our explanation is that one day in the middle of space, Salcor was being boring, and he found Supergirl afloat in the vastness of space. He took her on board his ship and brought her back to his planet. And Supergirl has amnesia, and she doesn't remember who she is or anything about her life. And then they are in a relationship, and then they get married. This is a properly appalling idea. This was meant to be a postscript to the life of Supergirl, and she has been reduced to be nothing but a wife. I think Supergirl having a secret alien husband is terrible. It is pure soap opera shit, and it really dilutes Supergirl as a character. It is a piece of Supergirl mythos you never needed, and that only serves to complicate her history and to even muddy up her character. There is no reason to reveal she had been secretly married off prior to her death. This issue was meant to pay tribute to her memory, and all it does is dishonour her memory by claiming that us readers were never truly aware of something as important as a marriage. At least she is not an alcoholic arsehole that is selfish and bitter and gets to be in a movie because Tom Queen gave her the same flavour of one-size-fits-all PTSD that non-comic reading self-professed comic fans think of as elevating a medium that they view as otherwise remedial, when it did far greater shit with the same ideas decades before Tom Queen and his war crimes and its Oedipus complex got handed automatic industry acclaim whenever he puts down a single word. And this is dodgy. I won't insist on it too much. I don't think many people would point to this as rape. But Supergirl is vulnerable. Even if you think that Salcor and her are able to develop a relationship naturally, there is still the element that Supergirl, without amnesia, maybe does not want this relationship. Somewhat reinforced by the fact that when her memories come back here, she bolts, she leaves and never returns. There's always the perversive feeling that Salcor, unintentionally, took advantage of this woman who was a blank slate, and she latched onto him as the only familiar thing in her life now. I do think, though, Salcor is too boring to ever do something malicious or abusive. He did care for her and love her, but on planet Salcor, they just don't think about things like agency or capability to truly consent. I consider this to be one of the worst things ever done with Supergirl. This iffy relationship and marriage to a completely random alien. And keep in mind, I'm saying this about Supergirl, a character who has fucked a horse.
If there's one thing I truly believe in here at atop the fourth wall, it is interspecies relationships.
Superman and Salcor fight this dog crap, silly age titanium man wannabe. This is an alien that was trying to conquer Salcor's planet. He has followed Salcor to Earth to exact revenge on him and his wife, Supergirl. Supergirl's already dead though, so he settles for Superman. And this fight is appropriately completely boring. There's no tension. There's virtually no real perceived threat. And the combat, which is across 3 pages, is that the alien pushes them down a hill, so Superman, backed with Salcor's force field, one-shots the alien into space. Would you all be surprised to learn that Salcor never appears again? The alien doesn't either, of course he doesn't. But Salcor, he is never even mentioned again. Supergirl's secret husband, who she was still married to at the time of her death, never mattered outside of the one comic that inserted him into continuity. They say she forgot the marriage in this, but that she then remembered it just before she died and never mentioned it to anyone. The issue footnotes these issues, and there's references in here that reinforce the notion that Supergirl knew for a while and was keeping it a secret. Well, there was also a more recent DC Comics Presents issue. That could have been when she got her memory back. I would be inclined to believe it is that issue. It's what it needs to be for a lack of following up on it or confiding in anyone. It needs to be that DC Comics Presents to make sense with the character. Another part of why it is such a disaster, we know Supergirl. She has been in comics for 30 years at this point, we know who she is, and given her a sudden scandalous secret marriage, which is how it is spoken of and tread on the cover, it is a total insult to anyone who has invested in Supergirl or her continuity. Supergirl has left a message for the two most important men in her life. Her cousin Superman, upon whom she spent her life emulating and fighting alongside. And then her husband, Sal-Kor, who she never brought up ever. I don't think this was made with ulterior motives or venom. It wasn't trying to say Supergirl is a or a bad person. It's not Norman Osborn fucking Emma Stone. It's an idea that someone should have said no to. She's dead. We don't need to deface her corpse. We have a letter over here by James Gunn. Well, not that one. Another guy with the same name. What, you think the man who got Tom Queen to help oversee his DCU has ever read a comic without a 9-panel grid? And even if this was the real James Gunn, it should always be treated as nothing when we have a letter from Ray Bradbury just before it. Dreadful issue, this. A blend of an exceptionally bad idea and an onslaught of the most amount of boredom they can fit into a single issue. There isn't a thing to make Sal-Kor exciting. He relies entirely on this shoddy idea that Supergirl married him. It's very trendy now to hate that Jason Byrne rebooted Superman and to act like he committed literary genocide because he wrote a few bad Superman stories or because he is a horrible piece of shit in real life now. The alternative is a continuity, and characters even, that mattered so little that one random issue can crowbar in this amount of baggage with absolutely no goal or objective. An idea can go to print and be canonised as easy as that, and then there's no tact about it either. This isn't an engaging story. This isn't a quality anything. They took your Supergirl from you and then think to do this. It's kicking someone when they're down. It's adding insult to injury. Nobody in their right mind will ever remark, my favourite thing about Supergirl is her marriage to Sal-Kor. Someone will in the comments, but they are not sincere. They are deliberately being contrarian for the sake of it. And that is the extent of appreciation this comic and this idea will ever get. So I secretly retcon it 7 thumbs up.